Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into Football Friday. After a Football Thursday last night, man, there were some great college games last night. Hope you got to check in on Pitt, West Virginia, the backyard brawl. Man, that was a great opener for ESPN last night. They had the whole crew there. Game day crew was there. Lee Corso was there. Give me that head. Do we watch Lee Corso just so he can just go straight old man crazy? I think we do, and we love it. We love every part of it. He did again. Nothing will ever beat the F-bomb he dropped, though. Do you ever see the F-bomb he dropped? As I say good morning to Nick Gaddis without a proper setting up of the show. Did you ever see the Lee Corso F-bomb?
Yeah, it was like I think it was Houston. They were in Houston, I think. And it might have been the first time we were there, and he had the helmet. He's like,
It was so good. Curb Street's fair. He goes. It was just the best. They had to write this big apology. Oh, it was so funny. Welcome into the JP Peterson Show. This is what it should be. We got college football. We don't have an NFL yet this weekend, so we're not quite all the way into football. But hey, NFL's less than a week away. We got Thursday Night Football coming up, so that's beautiful. So we're going to be all over college football. You know, we like to talk Tampa Bay-centric stuff. We know you guys are looking forward to these big games with these colleges this weekend, so we're going to be all over it on today's show. At 10:15, we're going to rerun a little bit of the Gary Bohannon interview that we did yesterday, the QB1 for USF. I am so jacked up to see this guy play on Saturday against a top 25 BYU team. So a great opportunity for USF to really brand themselves in the first weekend. Pat Burnham will join us, as he will each and every Friday at 10:30 from the Osceola, part of the Rivals Network now. For my money, the best X's and O's guy to talk Florida State football. He'll tell you which players and the matchups to watch. Did his podcast yesterday for the Osceola. We had a really good time with that. So we'll bring Pat Burnham on at 10:30. Will Turner will join us at 11:15, 247 Bulls. So we'll talk USF BYU with Will Turner as well. And Glenn Gilbo, who covers LSU, for Outkick.com will join us at 11:30. So that's a college football lineup there for the ages. That's a beautiful thing. And we're going to talk some Rays and Yankees. Huge series this weekend with the Rays as they come into this series 6 games back. They've made up 9.5 games in 44 games as the Yankees have gone into somewhat of a tailspin post All-Star break, and the Rays had the best August in baseball at 18-9. So here we are in September, meaningful games in September. Stu's ultimate dream, the absolute franchise motto to play meaningful games in September. What could be more inspiring than that? All right, so I'll stop. And here we are with meaningful games in September to get the New York Yankees. And yes, we're going to have mostly Yankee fans in the house because we've priced out the Rays fans. Way to go, Stu. But we got baseball on the field, so that's going to be good. Cannot wait to see that. And the Yankees are limping in here, are they not? No Rizzo.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Anthony Rizzo is going to be making the trip. He picked up an injury, I guess, and he's going to be seeing some specialists. So doesn't sound like he'll be making the trip. So that's yet another big bopper in that lineup that's not going to be in there.
That's good. Stanton is back, though.
Stanton's back. LeMahieu hasn't been the same since he came back. Glaber's been struggling, and then
do not pitch the Judge.
Well, I don't have a problem. The Rays have honestly
that's true.
Been
that's
pretty
true.
Good against Judge this year.
Yeah, that's true. But he's just mashing the ball. But that'll be a kind of an interesting aside to see him as he chases what I think is the legitimate single season record of 61 of Roger Maris. So, will he be able to notch a couple knocks in his belt this weekend at the Trop? And boy, we're getting to that point, by the way. If you what's he at 51 now?
He's 51.
51. Now. If you got one of those $71 outfield tickets, I can't help myself. If you got one of them 71 out, that's probably why he jacked the prices up, because you could be part of history. If you get 52 in a 63 or 62 or 63 season, that's worth something, right? That's worth something if you get that ball. And so I would, that's that. I'm being serious here. That's a part of history. That's a part of history. If you can get an Aaron Judge in the 50s and his chase to 63, that thing might be worth a little something. So worth going out there. And I got a couple texts a while back about, I would love to just go get some home run balls hit by Judge in batting practice. That would be nice to get him to sign one that he blasts out in batting practice. But I don't think they open the gates early enough to get much of Rays batting practice or Yankees, which is sad, because I batting practice is one of my favorite things. I love going, especially if you got big poppers. You got like Judge coming in. And,
I know there's a lot of Rays fans who are like irritated by the fact that they can't watch the Rays hit BP.
Yeah,
I've never really.
You never been a BP guy?
Listen, I remember when I was a kid, when the Yankees came in here, I would go to that BP.
Yeah.
Because there was A-Rod hitting bombs.
Right,
It was
right.
Teixeira hitting bombs.
Yeah.
It was Jeter hitting bombs. It was still different. Those
You
names.
ain't showing up for David Peralta? Hitting,
in all fairness, no.
Sneaking it over the right field
In all
wall.
fairness, no. You had to watch an A-Rod. I'm sure an Aaron Judge session would be pretty cool.
Oh,
but
my God, yes.
An A-Rod
yes.
batting practice session was fun
back in the day when they would let me in with a credential. I would love going up to the batting cage and just watching these guys, hearing that so close to the cage, and they all start warming up early and they're taking like half swings, and then when they get to the last few rounds and they're just hitting bombs, man, I love that. Love that. So anyway, I don't think you'll get much of that, but what you should for the price of that ticket. But I hope you raise. And by the way, if you guys want to jump in on the stream, you always can do that. To watch us on YouTube, just go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and you can comment there. You can also do that on Facebook. Facebook, just search JP Peterson or the JP Peterson Show. We are live right there. We're always live on Twitter at JP Peterson and the JP Peterson Show. So you can always comment right there.
Yeah, and you asked, by the way, I don't know how we got here, where the Rays are 5 out of the loss column here as we enter September.
Pitching.
Pitching, yeah. The Rays had their best month of the season. The Yankees had their worst calendar month since 1991.
Wow. That's an epic collapse.
Yeah. 10-18, the Yankees went in the month of August. They went 9-19 in September of 1991, and that was their worst month since.
Wow. So
that's why we're here.
They're tail spinning.
They're tail spinning. And you lose 2 out of 3 to a team that has, I think, 55 wins, something like that.
Imagine if they had 17 guys on the IL.
Oh God! I mean, they had a few guys on the IL, and you saw what happened.
And
they totally collapsed.
They totally collapsed. They just have zero resilience whatsoever. Yeah. So we'll put a little juju on them this weekend and see what happens. The greatest thing about the Rays now is the bats have really, really woken up. I think I heard Neil Solantz the other day say the Rays were one of the highest scoring teams in August.
Yeah,
they're averaging over 6 runs a game. I mean, this offense has gone from absolutely putrid to leading the league in runs in a month. And that's just and we talk about injuries and resilience. That those 2 months without Manny Margot and Beryl Ramirez and so many of and Brandon Lau and all these guys, we kept our head above water. I think we played maybe 1 game under 500 in both of those months, and that's huge. You don't think you're doing much, but that was huge, because then when you get everybody back, here you are scoring 6 runs a game, and if Shane McClanahan can come back. And all the prognosis is good, that this is nothing serious, that he's going to miss a couple starts and then can get back, hopefully mid-September. I mean, you look at a team now that is, and this is without Wander Franco. If Wander Franco were to come back and give you something offensively, so you're going to go. So basically, you're going to go into the playoffs with the highest scoring team in the American League, with I think the 3rd best pitching ERA. Okay, I'll take that. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go.
And some of the things that plagued them throughout the season, the outs on the base paths, I haven't really seen many of those lately.
Yes, they've cleaned that up.
They've cleaned
dramatically.
That up.
Yes,
Randy Arozarena has been very aggressive on the base paths all year long. I looked; he's got 27 stolen bases out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, it feels like he's not getting caught stealing as much anymore. And I know that a lot of that's just by chance.
Hopefully he's learning. We forget Randy Arozarena is still in his 2nd full year.
Yeah,
he's learning. He's learning how to steal bases in this league, and that is an art.
It's an art.
It's a talent.
We haven't talked. I mean, this year, now that he's gotten going, he's been one of the most productive outfielders in the entire American League when you look at his numbers all the way around. And that's helped. You have Yandy Diaz has been hitting well all season long. You have Randy Arozarena has been helping out. Beryl Ramirez leading the AL in batting average once he qualifies.
Hello.
Manuel Margot. I mean, once you start going over the pieces here, you see why the Rays had their best month in August. And it really just came down to having a good deal of health.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't talked a lot about Yandy Diaz, but it seems like every time he goes up there, he's either barreling up the ball or getting a walk or doing something good. He has just become just such a good a steady offensive player. And yeah, imagine if we could get Brandon Lau to get on one of his hot streaks.
Yeah,
he could just carry a team. Yeah. He could just carry a team. And then your boy, Jonathan Aranda, called up.
I know. I was glad to see that yesterday. We got the 2 call-ups.
I thought we were going to get, we want him to stick around for the International League playoffs.
No, and I want to see him in the lineup, too, tonight. I mean, we're going against a right-hander, Domingo Germán, who I think Yankee fans have it out for him at this point, Domingo Germán.
They do?
Yeah, they're not a fan of Mr. Domingo.
Yeah.
But I want to see him in the lineup tonight because I still think he's one of the better pure hitters when you put him in this lineup, even healthy, that the Rays have. We talked about it. He barreled up, it almost seemed like everything when he was up here for that week or two stint in June or July, whatever it was. So I hope they put him in there tonight. I want him to play. If it's him or Yu Chang, I'm going to pick Aranda any day to fill that role.
Yes. Yeah. And when he came up here, he barreled up the ball. I remember he made like 4 or 5 outs where he barreled up the ball because his numbers could have been way, way better. Just love his approach. The kid can freaking rake. So that could be a huge plus for this team. I'm looking for other pluses as we head into September here. I mean, Glasnow. What a little trump card that could be. I think he's going to do his first rehab appearance. Did his last batting. Everything's going. He did batting practice, I think, yesterday or the day before. Either way, we're going to probably this weekend. We're going to see him at Durham. And I see him as an opener, and especially for Yarbrough. Yarbrough has been really good with an opener. So if we can get, China Glasnow coming in, throwing 100 miles an hour from the right side with that devastating slider curveball combination, and then here comes Yarbrough slinging that straight mud, that 71 mile an hour cutter, and I mean that's just got to F with your head if you're a whole lineup. One, he goes, Glasnow can go through the lineup once, and then you bring that guy in. You got to completely, for another manager, you've got to completely flip your lineup at that point. It's just, I mean, that's a good combination. Rasmussen has been freaking unhittable. Kluber's been really good. He's been good and not spectacular with these guys. McClanahan and Rasmussen, flirting with perfect games. Kluber looks like a bum, but he's been really good as well. So you've got a starting staff and you've got a bullpen that has been fantastic. Missing Ryan Thompson, love to see him go, but JT Chagua has come back and looked good. Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about this team right now?
Yeah, the back half of the bullpen is what I'm so excited for is Chagua and Fairbanks and Jason Adams.
Yeah.
To have those 3 guys in there. I'm still waiting for a lefty to really kind of come out of the pack here. Poche's had his moments, but he's also had moments like the other night where he gives up a home run in a crucial situation.
And you saw that coming because Brian Anderson was talking about it. He's like, he's not getting the fastball up. He's not getting it up. And guys were barreling him up like it was batting practice.
And I guess Rayleigh's honestly been the guy. I mean, he's only given up one home run here. He's been rock solid for what they're asking.
You'd love to have a wipeout lefty, though.
I'd love to have a wipeout lefty. I mean, Beeks is kind of a jack of all trades.
He did the job the other night.
He's going to be moved around in so many different
Beeks did a great job the other night against the Marlins. He came in and got the strikeout when he needed to.
Yeah, and we got a little cameo of this Garrett Clevenger, the kid they got from at the deadline here. I don't know how long he's going to stay with the club. He might be one of the odd men out. I'm assuming, but for now, I think you have like 3 or 4 lefties in the bullpen all of a sudden. So, again, there's really nothing to critique about the Rays at the moment. I think as a baseball club, they're playing some of the best baseball around all of the teams right now.
Absolutely, the numbers show it, and it's trending up. You can still, as we mentioned, all these pieces that are coming back, they can get better. And the other wild card is Wander Franco. Imagine if he comes back in mid-September and just is the guy that we all know he is. There's no debate here. He's going to be a superstar if he stays healthy. And, maybe he comes back and he catches lightning in a bottle and here we go. So, this is going to be a really, as much as we are focused on football as we should be in this town, no question about it. This is going to be an exciting September and October. Just hope to God the big guy upstairs doesn't screw it up with a sign or some other BS that he pulls out. That's bad enough, the prices, but we support that team though. We love the team 100%. All right, well, coming up, so I told you coming up on the show, we're going to do a lot of college football. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we did a great interview yesterday with Gary Bohannon, the QB1 for USF. It's going to be a huge weekend in college football for all our state teams. We're going to preview all of it today, so if you're a college football fan, sit back, relax, quick break. Gary Bohannon coming up next.
Let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's #1 premier investigation agency. So if you are having doubts about your spouse and you want to find out what the hell's going on, use the professionals at Emerging Investigations. They are licensed, insured private investigation agency, family-owned, and they will give you accurate information to make the most informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Don't do this yourself, folks. Many local attorneys, insurance agencies, and your neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. So go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call them at 813-291-FACT, 813-291-FACT. It is an easy, low-stress call. Just call Rachel. We'll probably answer the phone, and you can talk to her about what your issues are, and they'll let you know how the process works. And we'll hear from Rachel a little bit later on in the show as well. So she will tell us some interesting, fun facts about what they do over there at Emerging Investigations. All right, big college football weekend, obviously, for all our local teams, all our state teams. UCF did their business last night, did they not, my friend? How'd your boy John Rice Plumlee? I was watching Pitt in West Virginia and Purdue and Penn State. I didn't see much of the UCF game.
John Rice looked pretty good.
Yeah.
400 yards of offense by himself. I think 299 passing, 99 on the ground, 4 touchdowns overall. Just he reminded me of Mackenzie Milton.
Wow.
Is what I said.
Wow.
The way he plays, and maybe it was the number 10. I don't know, but he kind of just reminded me of Mackenzie Milton. And yeah, UCF did what they needed to do. All the transfers from the SEC, Kamori Gamble, the former Florida Gator, if you recall.
Yeah.
He made a diving touchdown reception. I didn't know he was that athletic. So, yeah, it was a great night. And
neither did Dan Mullen, evidently.
No, Dan Mullen did not. I think Dan Mullen might have been trending again. I don't know.
Oh, wow. So what was the final in that? They beat South Carolina State?
Yeah, 56-10. 56-10, which also brought us the punt play, which I have never, ever seen in any level of football in my life.
Yeah. It's a new rule where you can go past the line of scrimmage with the rugby punt and then kick it when you're 10 yards down the field. Like, that was so bizarre. So the punter, doing the rugby punt, and I guess he's also, for South Carolina State, he's also a running back. Yeah. And he had a great lane. He looked like it was 4th and 19. It looked like he was going to get the first down. He's 10 yards down the field, and he just decided to punt it. It was so funny. He's like him going over. The coach is like, the coach is not yelling at him. He's just putting his hand on his shoulder pad, just shaking his head like, son, did we not go over this? It probably didn't go over it because you pretty much learned that when you're in Pee Wee football. You can't do that. And later on, he had a punt blocked. Oh man, it was
a bad night for SC State.
That's not good. And they got what was it, 40-56? So they covered
56-10. Yeah,
I was gonna bet them too, and I did not. But I did bet West Virginia 7.5. Oh. And West Virginia, that was a great game. And that poor kid, JT Daniels, goes back. I think it was a tie game at this point. Yeah, Pittsburgh. West Virginia is up 7 with like 6 to play. I'm like, money in the bank for me. My money in the bank. I got West Virginia 7.5. They're up 7 with 6 to play. It's probably going to be a field goal game at worst, right? And JT Daniels throws a pass out in the flat, and the kid, it goes right through his hands. And the Pitt kid, I forget his name, runs it back for a pick 6. Oh my God, ties the game, and then they get another incredible. Pittsburgh gets another incredible touchdown. They go up 7.
What did they say? It was like 70,000 people there. It's the most they've ever put in that stadium.
Yeah,
including a Steelers game.
Yeah,
and I mean, you obviously have been around a lot longer than me and watching college football. I didn't even know this was everybody's talking about this historic rivalry.
Yeah, the backyard brawl.
I didn't realize my entire time of watching college football for the past decade, this game hasn't been played.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing about this rivalry.
Thank you for realignment and the bullshit realignment. And we lose rivalries like that. You can't lose games like that. From an economic standpoint, Pitt, they could have played, Shippensburg State with 25,000 people in the stadium.
I've never thought that stadium kind of lended itself to college football. Similar to how I feel about Raymond James with USF.
Well, one of the biggest crowds we've ever seen at Raymond James
was
West Virginia.
Was the West Virginia game in
USF. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I've never seen more people in that, including Bucks playoff games. I've never seen it more packed. I mean, down below, there was like. You looked up in the stands, and there was like 2 people for every seat. Like they were college kids on top of each other. It was freaking unbelievable. And the corners were full. It was crazy. And, that's what happens when you put a college atmosphere in a stadium like that, And gosh, we can only do that for USF.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer.
Well, you got a top 25, speaking of USF, you got a top 25 team coming in at BYU. And obviously Gary Bohannon comes in here with incredible accolades. And we talked to him yesterday, and just right off the practice field, they put a phone in his hand, and this kid is as optimistic and bright and wonderful, and he's just got such a great personality, magnetic. This is, Jeff Scott was telling me he's like the Pied Piper. Guys just gravitate to him. He's got that Brady-esque quality where he just lifts everybody up. Not to that level, folks. But you know what I'm saying is that focal point that just brings everybody's work ethic and everybody else's optimism up because of who he is. He's just one of those guys. He's got incredible charisma, and I think you'll hear it in this interview. We'll play a few minutes of it. It was late in the show, so we'll give you a little bit of the early stuff here as they get set to take on BYU. To the USF athletic facilities, which are getting huge upgrades, and we chat with the starting quarterback for your Bulls in a game against 25th ranked BYU coming up on Saturday. He is Gary Bohannon. Hello, Gary. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We are fantastic and so glad to have you in town. I've been talking about to Coach Scott about you for quite some time, and it's been a very interesting and incredible rise for you and arrival here at USF. How excited are you to get on that field on Saturday and lead the Bulls into Raymond James Stadium?
I would say I'm very excited. We've been training all summer for this. We've had a hard, good camp. We've been preparing for it, and I would say, man, I'm excited for the guys to get out there and compete. I'm excited to get to play in this Bulls uniform for the first time. So everything about that, I'm excited about that. Again, to face a good team in BYU, see those guys again. So I'm excited about it. I'm really excited. I can't even put into words how excited I am, honestly.
Well, talk a little bit about practice this week. What's the vibe? How's the execution level? How are you feeling?
The attention to detail has been good. The execution level has been good. We've been working. We've been grinding. You can see the confidence in both sides of the ball, special teams. You see the confidence in the guys' eyes. You see the high effort each and every play. You see the focus. This is as locked in as it gets. We've been preparing for it, and finally, we're here. We're 50-some hours out.
Yeah.
So, you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
So, the way practice, I feel like we're going to go out there and we do our job. And we're going to go out there and execute. So, I'm just excited to get out there. I know the energy is going to be even higher in the game during game time. So,
well, I hope you got 2 nights of sleep before this game. You going to get any sleep between now and that game?
Yeah, I'm gonna get me some good sleep now. I got to get me some good sleep.
Yeah. Hey, tell me a little bit about the weapons you got out there. You're throwing to a whole new group of receivers. You got some dynamic running backs, and you're learning a new offense. Tell me what the fans could expect to see on Saturday.
Like you said, we have a dynamic running back room. From those guys, you're gonna see those guys being able to do it all. So you're gonna see those guys making some big plays, running the ball and catching the ball. Those guys are just different when they get the ball in their hand. They're elusive. They play makers. And they do that at a high level. And in wide receiver room, that room is loaded. Speed, size, catching ability, it's a gifted room. You can't, as a quarterback, that's your best friend. You can't ask for more than that. And I can say, honestly, this wide receiver can play at any level. I've saw it, played against it, played with it, and these guys here, they perform at a high level. And they're all different, all special in their own ways. So, but all of them have speed, which is the big thing. So it's exciting. It's exciting.
Well, I know the fans are excited to see you play, and you played a lot at Baylor last year, and you guys won a Big 12 title. Tell me a little bit about how that experience is going to help you with the USF team that, frankly, has struggled the last few years to bring that winning attitude. Winning. You know what it takes to win in big-time college football. How have you tried to impart that to your teammates?
For me, I've been a part of a losing team and a winning team. The difference is believing and having that confidence and practicing with high effort. If you can prepare each play like it's a game rep and treat it as a game rep, the game is going to be good for you. And the main thing you want to do is make sure your practice is harder than your game. If your practice is harder than your game, that you're building your confidence up. So when you get those looks in the game, it's nothing new to you. It's natural. You just responding to it. You're just doing what's natural to you because you've been preparing all week. And just with these guys, to be honest with you, they don't have they've been losing. They don't have a losing mindset. They have a confident mindset, a winning mindset. That's what you want to have. It all starts with the mind. Everything, plenty of people have said 10% physical, 90% mental. That's really what it is. And so long as we good mentally, I feel like we're gonna come out and dominate. And that's the thing about these guys. These guys are confident right now.
I tell you what, that he just he just brings it. I love it. I can't wait to see him play. Now they've got to support him. The offensive line's got to give him time. The receivers got to catch the football. They've got mountains to go. BYU is these are grown ass men coming in here, and they are well coached, and they will not be afraid. That's for damn sure. But USF played them really tough last year too. I think it's a 7-point game up there in BYU. This is a way better USF team. And here's your opportunity. Go out there and get her done and start this season off. And that's why these opening games are so huge. You get this momentum rolling when you've got big changes. Same thing about Florida State. Same thing about USF. Florida's in a similar situation as well. You got a new coach coming in. If you can get that big win early, it just puts you so far ahead of the development curve. And that's why these games are so big this weekend for all these teams. So get out there and support USF this weekend with 4 o'clock kick. Is that right? 4 o'clock kick at Raymond James Stadium. Yeah, it's going to be hot. Probably be maybe even a delay or two, but get out there and support your team. It's college football. The tickets are cheap, man. Just go out and have a good time and support USF. If you're not doing something on Saturday, go get a big dose of college football. It's good stuff, and it's going to be exciting. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Patrick Burnham's going to join us from the Osceola, part of the Rivals Networks now. The best X's and O's guy when it comes to Florida State football. Stay with us. JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Let's go right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
My boy Nick Geddes is looking over here. I want to go to the USF game. $15 tickets. Yeah, you're going to pay $200 for your Yankees Rays ticket in the outfield. You could bring your whole family. Extended family to the Bulls game, but that's okay. Welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Oh, we just love it here. We're going to talk some college football. We are brought to you by Emerging Investigations. Emerging INV is their website, and we want to bring in our good friend Pat Burnham, who is the best lead investigator when it comes to X's and O's and Florida State football. He's played the game, he's coached the game, he's written about the game, he's done everything in the game, and he's got his eyes squarely on Florida State football. What's up, Pat? How are you?
Oh, man, a little bit more than 48 hours away from the start of week one. Looking forward to Florida State and LSU getting after it. We get to see a little big boy football after getting to see FSU pick on the smallest kid on the block last Saturday. So looking forward to seeing what this game brings for Florida State. Obviously, it's going to set the benchmark early for this team as it applies to 2022. And listen, I think we're going to learn a lot about Florida State, and I think it's going to be a very tightly contested game.
Well, I can't. 48 hours away, and I'm like, I got a lot of drinking and traveling to do before then, man. That's
well,
good.
hey, do the traveling first and then the drinking later.
Well, I ain't flying a plane, bro. So
there you go. There you go.
And hopefully the guy up front ain't drinking either, but you never know. So we saw the Duquesne game, and it's hard to pick up anything from that game from an X's and O's standpoint because you got to consider the opponent. The offensive line looked great when they're blocking 260-pound defensive tackles. It's a step up in class this week.
Oh yeah, this will be much different.
Yeah. So give me more of a scouting report on LSU to start of what this offensive line is going to be dealing with, because I think LSU's strength is probably their defensive line. Would you agree?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, that starting front four of Bijo Ojulari, Mason Smith, Jacqueline Roy, and Allie Gay. I mean, last year on a fairly pedestrian football team, they combined for 43.5 tackles for a loss and 23 sacks. And, they think they're pretty deep up front. We've talked about 3 or 4 people that report on LSU and follow LSU, and they think they're deep up front. But listen, 3 of those guys, the very least, are going to be NFL players. It's the strength of their defense. Listen, we know Florida State's better on the offensive line. They are deeper. They're more talented. They're bigger. They're stronger. But, like you said, JP, it's hard to judge exactly how good they are when you watch them play an inferior opponent like Duquesne. So we are going to learn a lot. I do think Florida State will account for itself well, but, they are playing against some talented dudes up front. They've got 3 very active linebackers, and they are expecting that front 7 not only to be the strength of the defense at LSU, but to be the strength of that football team.
Yeah, no doubt. And Florida State, boy, they look so much better on the offense. Just looking at them, It's, as I've said before, it's O-line porn for me. Just looking at the pictures of these guys, they're so much bigger, they're more athletic. But we got issues at center for injury concerns. So who do you think starts at center for FSU, and how important is that?
Well, we do know that Maurice Smith was back at practice yesterday.
Good.
So, that's obviously benefits Florida State. We'd seen him at practice on Tuesday and didn't really do a whole lot, but he was moving. So, listen, I think that obviously helps. They've got some guys like Dylan Gibbons who played extended reps at center on Saturday against Duquesne, who looked very natural and very good to me. So I'd be comfortable if that was the lineup. You slid Bryson Estes, who's had a great camp and obviously a very good first game, as all of them did, into the guard spot. But yeah, listen, they're. That's the great thing about the depth they created, JP. If this had happened last year or the year before, that, it's Katie bar the door. You're gonna leak like a sieve.
Yes.
But yeah, so listen, I think that's helped. You've got some guys, Darius Washington's taking reps at center. Thomas Schrader played some center, and he's a guy that came in and was very impressive early on and has been plagued by a leg injury and is finally back to full speed. And he's a guy that's got promise. Listen, I think you want Maurice. I think JT Jordan Travis is comfortable with Maurice. He's even said so this week in some of the interview he did leading into this game. So I think between Maurice and Dylan Gibbons, I think you feel pretty good about the center position because you've got some guys that can fill in if you move Dylan to center. But we'll see what happens. But Maurice was back at practice yesterday. That's good news. Pat Burnham of the Osceola joining us here. Talk to FSU, LSU Sunday nights in the Superdome, as I like to call it. It's old school football. It's going to be fun. It'll be about 40,000 Seminole fans there, about the same for LSU, maybe a little bit more. It's going to be a throwdown. Now, you mentioned Jordan Travis. He's played in a lot of big games. LSU may play 2 quarterbacks. This is Brian Kelly's first game, obviously, with LSU. He's imparting a new culture, new schemes. FSU played an inferior opponent, but they played a game. And that's always good to get out there. How do you think that plays into it? I mean, you've coached a lot of college football. You've played it. I mean, going into that first game with new schemes, talent isn't talent if they're thinking, right? If they're still thinking about what they're doing. Well, you got things like communication, and then, it's not on the practice field, it's in front of 80,000 people who are just going nuts. There's pressure not that there's not pressure in practice, but that pressure is magnified, right? Because you think everybody's watching you, and they are. So, but listen, I think it's fascinating. One of the things that's fascinating about this game, LSU and Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock, their offensive coordinator, they do like to run the ball, but they are depleted at running back. John Emery Jr., who was expected to be at the very least a co-starter, is suspended from this game. So they've got a Noah Kane, a transfer, and then they've got 5 offensive linemen who have only combined for 28 games started. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see whether we always talk about the key to the game being up front, right? And I think obviously the offensive and defensive lines will certainly have an impact, but I think the LSU's strength is going to be throwing the ball because of their receiving core with Kayshon Boutte and Malik Neighbors and John Betch. And, listen, they feel like they're really talented there. Brian Kelly has said they're 7 to 8 deep at wide receiver. Yeah. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what LSU does on offense. I think they'll be more pass heavy. Listen, I think it's going to be hard for them to run against Florida State. If Florida State plays up to their capability with their front four. But yes, to your point, there's going to be some hiccups that LSU has to go through because it is a new staff. Brian Kelly's got a new offense. He's worked with Mike Denbrock before at Notre Dame and at Grand Valley State, but they haven't been together in years. Joe Sloan is his quarterback coach, is going to be up in the booth. They've never communicated, and all that does matter. All that does matter. And he's got a new defense coordinator he's never worked with. I don't know how involved Brian is on the defensive side of the ball. He may be a guy that just says, "Hey, it's yours, handle it. I'll make the big decisions, timeouts, whatever." But yeah, I think you're catching LSU at the right time because I think they will be a better team as this season goes on.
Absolutely.
So I think we always say timing is everything in life, and to a great extent it is, and the same thing can be true for football.
And FSU's defense, obviously, for those just coming into the season, Jermaine Johnson is gone. They've lost 2. Keir Thomas is gone. They've got Jared Verse coming in, is going to be their rush end guy, but they're so stout in the middle. With Cooper and Lovett, and now they've got a linebacker in Tatum Bethune who came over from UCF that is legit and something FSU hasn't had in a while with great football instincts. So let's talk about FSU's front 7 here for a second.
Well, listen, I think they have a chance to be dominant. We saw very little from them against Duquesne. They were very vanilla, basically lined up over the guards with the interior guys, play a little heavy technique, and let the linebackers run and hit. That's exactly what we saw from Tatum Bethune. I think when you start moving these guys and allow them to be a little bit more aggressive in the structure of the defense, I think we're going to learn a little bit more about them. But, Jarrett Jackson, who backs up Lovett, has been very impressive, as has Josh Farmer, and they really like Malcolm Ray. I think everything that was for the FSU defense starts with those inside guys. And now, listen, Jared Verse has got a lot of talent, but I think we saw against Duquesne, he's not quite Jermaine Johnson yet. He may turn into that. Dennis Briggs, I think, is a really solid, really good football player. He was very impressive as a defensive tackle before he got hurt last year. I think he will only get better at defensive end because he's moved back out to defensive end. He's came as a defensive end, moved inside, now moved back outside. Right. And then, of course, you've got Derek McClendon and even a guy like Leonard Warner, who has been moved all over the place in his career at Florida State, has finally found a home at defensive end. So the good news is I think Florida State is deep and will be able to rotate people out there. Also, you're playing against a starting left tackle that's never played a college football game. He's a true freshman, Will Campbell. He's projected to be a really good player, but he's still a true freshman, and you got some veteran guys that have played some games lined up against him. And then, they've got Cam Wires, their most experienced guy on the right side, or at right tackle, but he's only got 10 starts. So I think you've got a chance to make an impact. Now, they are huge up front. They're all 6'5" and 320 pounds or more, with the exception of Campbell, who's only 310 as a 17 or 18-year-old.
Wow, yeah.
But, yeah, so listen, I think Florida State's has a chance to be dominant over LSU's offensive line just because of experience. And, I love it. And Cooper are obviously guys that have a chance to play at the next level.
Matt Burnham joining us here from the Osceola talking FSU, LSU. And I kind of buried the lead here. I mean, FSU comes out and has 3 running backs that go for over 100. First time that's ever happened in program history. And 2 of them are from the Tampa Bay area. Trayshawn Ward from Tampa Bay Tech and Lawrence Toafili, who's put on some weight, as you told us last week, to look for him. Boy, did he look different. You nailed that. I love the way he looked. And, of course, Trey Benson, the transfer, looked fantastic as well. How important is it for FSU to control this game with their running game? And it's going to be tough. You mentioned that their front 7, so that'll be
listen. If FSU can find the success on the ground now, we don't expect it to be like Duquesne. I think everybody on this call or on this Zoom would be very happy if Florida State could figure out a way to run for 150 or more against this team, right?
Absolutely.
If you can do that, your chances are greater. I do think because of that front 7 and because of the inexperience or lack of time in LSU system, most of their defensive backfield is made up of guys who have just transferred into the program. Okay. And obviously communication is key. They've only got 2 guys on their 2 deep in the secondary that were on the team last year. Now, is that big a deal? Because everybody's new, right? I mean, it's a new coaching staff. Right. But long story short, you still got to assimilate. It is a communicate. Can they communicate properly? They weren't. They got some guys from McNeese State and Louisiana Lafayette, and then some guys from Oklahoma State and Ohio State. So how quickly can those guys mesh, because they are putting most of that secondary together, and FSU is much better, we think, at receiver than they have been for the last 4 or 5 years. So I think as important as the running game is, FSU will have to have some success throwing the ball to win this ball game.
So you're telling me we might see a little trickeration here. They run the football all against Duquesne, and they're going to come out and sling it all over the field because that's where their weakness is. I mean, if you're looking at this as you are, and you do a great job X's and O's, LSU's weakness is in the secondary. And people could say, well, you got Jordan Travis. Well, Jordan's never been protected. He's never had weapons like this. He's never had a group of receivers like this. Right. We don't know how good he can be as a passer, to be quite honest. And, maybe he gets his first 300-yard passing game against LSU.
That would be impressive. And again, I like our chances if that happens. But certainly. Listen, I don't think they're going to do a lot. Listen, Florida State's, because of the pass rush, or what we think is going to be a really aggressive pass rush and a really good pass rush by LSU, it's still going to it's going to be short, intermediate passing games. They're not going to ask Jordan Travis to drop back 5-step drops 25, 30 times. So you're not going to be, so it's going to be quick. Listen, you got, as you mentioned, Toafili out of the backfield and Trayshawn Ward out of the backfield catching passes. We know both those guys are good out of the backfield as pass catchers. And listen, I think what you want to do is because of the strength of that defense, I think you want those defensive linemen having to run to the sideline. I think you stretch the perimeter, try to wear those guys down, because that is where the strength of the defense is. So, I think the perimeter passing game is going to be, out safety valves out to the backs in the flat. I think you'll see play action to keep those guys honest. But yes, I think that Florida State will throw the ball. They'll run it if they can, and we'd all like to see them run it. But I think they're going to have to throw the ball with some margin of success to beat LSU.
Well, we've broken it down here. The X's and O's right there, as good as we can do it. So now we'll just put the intangibles out there. Make me a pick as to who do you think wins this game, and maybe some of those intangibles that go into it.
I think you said it earlier when you were talking with the quarterback from USF about, confidence is a funny thing. Yep. And now I do not think that the LSU game is the most important game Florida State will play all season. I think that comes in the next week, the next game, Louisville, because no matter what happens, you have to respond one way or the other. If you win, you got to respond. You can handle success. If you lose, you got to respond to adversity. But I do think this might be the most important 30 minutes of Florida State football, and that being the first half, to get that confidence, to know that you can go – because you are going to have adversity for the first time all season. You had none against Duquesne. Right. So how do you react when you get your nose bloodied and things aren't going exactly the way that you thought? The game plans never go exactly the way you thought they were. Right. So I think it's, that you go in there, you fight them tooth and nail for this first 30 minutes, and then you got confidence going into the second half. And obviously, if you play well against LSU, regardless of the outcome, and listen, I want Florida State to win. You want them to win. I'm not saying they're not going to win. In fact, you're fixing to find out that I think they are. But Listen, as you said, confidence is fun. So that first 30 minutes, we can, we can hang with LSU there, and I don't think LSU's world beaters by any stretch. But so yes, I think that first 30 minutes is critical. I think it's critical for the season as well as this game. But I've got FSU 29-27.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think it's going to be a kind of a higher scoring game like that as well. I got him 31-28 with a kick to win it, and JP's going to have to be pulled off at Bourbon Street at a very late hour on Sunday night, heading to church. All right, Pat, great stuff. Promote all the Osceola content that you guys have going this weekend.
Yeah, we've got it. We just published our Osceola tailgate show, which you were on. We've got an in detail. You can go to floridastate.in.rivals.com to catch all our content. But we've got the tailgate show, which will be running from now until kickoff. We also have Getting Know Your Enemy podcast, where we talk to LSU beat writer Julie Bodwin. And I mean, she gets into detail about their coaching staff, their roster, and now it's LSU heavy, and we don't talk much about Florida State, but that's not the purpose of the podcast.
Exactly. Yes.
But anyway, we got a lot of stuff on there. Check us out.
Great stuff, Pat. Appreciate it, man. We'll see you up in Talion down the road. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, JP. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Man, I'm so jacked up about this game. It's going to be so fun. All right, we'll take a break. First, before we do, I want to tell you about our good friends at Italiano Insurance. Speaking of Florida State, the Florida State Report brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance, which I didn't know this, but Nat Italiano, who runs the Boca Grande Italiano Insurance, was his dad and he were the first father-son Seminoles to play football together. They did that. So there's a football connection with Italiano Insurance. Big Noel fans there, and they will take care of your insurance, especially if you've had home insurance rates go up through the roof like many of us have. It's a good idea to call them and let them check around to see if they can find you a cheaper rate. 813-877-7799. What's great about Italiano is you get customer service. A human being will answer the phone. They'll get with an agent and say, hey, my insurance rates went up through the roof. And, oh, by the way, 64% of homeowners don't have enough homeowners insurance. So you got to make sure that you have enough and everything is covered. So if a hurricane comes through, you don't want to be going to your insurance agency and say, oh, you're $100,000, $200,000 short on your coverage. What are you going to do then? That's not gonna be a happy day for you. So make sure you have enough coverage, and Italiano will take care of that for you. 813-877-7799. It's an easy call. And as I said, a human will answer the phone and you'll get those answers right away. And they can save you some money. So check it out. Italiano Insurance, making a difference in our community for over 60 years. All right. When we come back, we're going to listen to a little bit of Todd Bowles from yesterday. And the offensive line, there is good news on the offensive line. Stay with us. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand.
Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Hi, my name is Mike Warner, a Navy vet. I've had problems with addictions throughout the many decades. Something saved my life, and that is the Heroes Mile program.
Hi, I'm Bill Lennox, retired Lieutenant General, United States Army. If you have any challenges in alcohol, drug, if you have PTSD, MST, think about Heroes Mile.
Heroes Mile, a recovery center for veterans by veterans. Call 1-888-VET-NOW-2 to learn more or visit heroesmile.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations and Emerging INV, Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, and by the good folks at AMS Tampa Mortgages, Scott Fitzgerald. They've got a new program there that we'll tell you about as we move through it. You can reach him at scott@amstampa.com. Well, we were right again, once again, with the Tom Brady story. It's all the news. We've been telling you this for a couple of weeks, that his absence was all about keeping that family together and having some issues with his marriage. And the Page 6 article that came out yesterday that rocked the world was basically what we've been telling you for a couple of weeks, that Giselle has taken off. I've heard that the kids are in Miami, or have spent some time in Miami. This report from Page 6 said she took off to Costa Rica. I know they have a big compound down there that they head out to every once in a while. According to Page 6, the couple is, quote, according to a source close to the couple, they are in a fight right now, but it's no worse than other arguments they've had in the past where the pair have been able to reconcile. Another source divulged to the New York Post that there has been a series of heated arguments, which resulted in Giselle leaving the family's Tampa Bay home for Costa Rica. There's been trouble in the marriage over his decision to unretire. Giselle has always been the one with the kids, the insider said. It comes after the star quarterback of the Tampa Bay Bucs took an 11-day prearranged break from training camp. It's all personal, the source said. Everybody's got different situations that they're dealing with, Tom said, after making his first appearance on the field in the preseason. Of course, we played that for you. And there was another quote from Giselle, I guess back in May, where basically she said that Tom is focusing on his career and I'm focusing on the kids. So, again, we've talked about this, that these are all very deeply personal matters, but all the stuff about, is he going on The Masked Singer? What's he did he get Botox? Did he get, all this other stuff, which may or may not have happened, but the focus is, and you could tell by the way Tom answered the questions the other day when he wasn't supposed to talk, but talked anyway, that there's some shit going on in his life. And this is it. And, hopefully they can reconcile this. But as far as, Buccaneer, we all hope that he can, pull this together. A lot of us have gone through it. It's very, very taxing mentally. It's hard to concentrate on your work, but he's Tom Brady. And he can compartmentalize like nobody's business. And I think he'll be extremely focused and probably use this adversity to his benefit. And I think you'll see the best of Tom Brady this year. Physically, he's as good as he's ever been. We've been telling you that since the beginning of practice. Bruce Arians said it the other day. Ronde Barber came on this program the other day and talked about how he goes up to Montana every year, or Wyoming, or someplace beautiful up there, and he does, these arm exercises where he throws the ball at who told us who's the receiver for Mazzy Wilkins. Mazzy Wilkins came on the show a couple of years back and told me this story as well, where he stands like 15 yards from Alex Guerrero and he rips it as hard as he can, and he gets a certain RPM and certain velocity numbers that he has to reach, 15 throws in a row. That would be, the best velocity that you'd see at the combine for the kids coming out. That's his level of standard. And that's what he does every year. And those numbers tell us that his arm has never been stronger. So, I mean, if you're worried from a football standpoint, I would not be. I'd be worried more about the offensive line than I'm worried about Tom Brady and how he's going to play. So Todd Bowles chatted with the media yesterday. Mr. Excitement took all the questions. I think he's showing the media very early on that you can ask the questions, but you're not going to get much of an answer out of Todd Bowles. So, but there is some information. I thought the information about the offensive line was quite interesting in a very positive way. So let's listen into Todd Bowles from yesterday.
Morning.
What did you see from Anthony Chesley that made you?
Yeah, can you fast forward that? Go up like 3. They're talking about Anthony Chesley. And
he's got good football out there next week to be ready to go.
We haven't spoken to you since the final decision is made. What led to the decision to keep Suck up?
Yeah, we'll start here.
Consistency. Obviously, Borregales had his chances. He missed 2 in the ball game. He's been more consistent. He's got a great leg and he has a chance, but consistency he usually wins.
Coach, what have you seen from Russell Gage since he's come back? How's he looking?
He's getting better and better every day. We expect him to be on track to play and trending in the right direction.
That's good news.
And that being the offensive linemen all look like they're out there participating for today. Worfs, Gedeke, and Leverett, and Hainsey, and everyone. How's that coming along, that chemistry, that building, and everyone's going to be ready to go week 1?
Everybody's trending that way. They're out there working. The chemistry will come over time. It's not going to be exact week 1, but it's going to be good enough. And as they keep working together, the chemistry is going to grow.
Talk a little bit about Parsons. In your mind, is he one of these game wreckers?
Micah
Maybe
Parsons,
there's not
Dallas.
that many in the league, but does he qualify? And how do they use him? How versatile is he?
He definitely qualifies as a game wrecker. They use him inside. They use him outside. He can rush the passer from anywhere. He can blow up runs. He can cover. He does a lot of things. He causes a lot of problems. They cause a lot of mismatches for him. They get him in position where he's on the back a lot, but he can beat linemen as well. He's a true game wrecker.
Is he the guy that Brady has to be aware of pre-snap all the time?
He should be aware of all of them, but definitely where he is.
Speaking of pre-snap, all the things that Tom does pre-snap and his recognition of things, how much can that help in a new interior offensive line that's still trying to get chemistry with some younger guys in there?
Well, it always helps when you're on the same page. And the younger guys, we're not using that as an issue. There's a young guy or a rookie that win the Super Bowl every year. So just ask Winfield. He's played. we're not using that as an excuse. It'll help communication wise, but Goody and Joe do a great job of them guys knowing what they're doing. So we're not concerned with that.
Or even not just younger, but guys that are playing. Robert Hainsey, this is his, second year, right? Like moving inside, right? And Luke Gedicke's also having to not only make the transition moving inside, but he's also, playing on a different side than he's used to playing, right? So everything is kind of, in a sense, backwards for him. Just how much does it help when you can have a guy like Tom that's kind of there leading the charge?
Well, it helps Tom being a leader as a quarterback. It doesn't help those two guys. They got to play football, and football is football for them. There's no left-handed, right-handed side. If we put them out there and we trust them as starters, we believe in them that they can play.
Todd, you've spoken about how you like the depth of this team.
No
What
excuses.
about how seasoned this team is? This the most veteran team you've probably ever been around?
I can't remember as far back as all the years I've coached, but I know we got some depth on this team, and we got some guys that's been around and know football.
How do you guys have made it through kind of the first round of waivers? I know there's still some teams to make, but is it reasonable to think that the 53 you have right now will be the 53 you have next week?
You never say never. We'll see what happens. Right now, yes. Next week it could change. So you never say never.
One of your big decisions on game days is going to be fourth down, fourth and short.
Fourth and short. I like this question.
Field you're on, how much time is left to score. The trend, Todd, the trend in the league is to go for it more on fourth down. Those numbers are up every year. Have you changed your mind at all in that regard from your days the first time around? And what you thinking on fourth and short?
It all depends on the situation. I can sit here and tell you pluses for both ways, but until you get in that situation and you understand how your team is playing, you look at the percentages of what's being said, and then you look at how your team is playing and you make an educated decision. So sometimes you go with the data, sometimes you go against the data. It all depends on the situation.
Why do you think the trend, Todd, the last 3 or 4 years is to go for it more than in the past?
I think it's been more successful right now. Anything 4th and 4 or less right now has been pretty successful. So once you cross the 50 and you're not quite in field goal range, if you feel confident enough in your defense and you feel safe, I guess some people go for it. A lot more people go for it than more before.
That's Todd Bowles right there. That's going to be one of the big interesting decisions to see how Todd manages the game. And from that answer right there, he is on board with the 4th and 4 across the 50. You got to go for it. I love that. That's the way it should be, especially with the defense that you have. And Todd's going to be confident in his defense. He's going to believe that if they don't get the first down when they're across the 50, they're going to be okay. That's the way you got to play in the NFL, when especially if you have an offense and a quarterback like Tom Brady. I might pull that out to 4th and 6. If I cross the 50 or near the 50 and it's 4th and 6 or less, I'm going for it. With the receivers and the accuracy of the quarterback and his ability to read a defense and know what's coming, I got to believe, in those situations, 60, 70, 80% of the time, he's going to get it done. That's why you have Tom Brady. You got to have confidence in those players that you have on this roster to make those critical plays. And it's one of the reasons why the Bucs win close games. It's one of the reasons that's been the hallmark of Tom Brady, is that he has won a lot of close games. And I think Todd Bowles will mix very well in terms of how he manages the game. And let's just be honest about this. There were many instances where BA did not handle the clock the way he probably should have. So I think there's definitely a place for improvement there in the way the game is managed. So we'll see. That'll definitely be one of those things. But we'll have obviously a lot more time to talk about the Bucs and Dallas next week, and we'll be bringing on some folks from Dallas to talk about the Cowboys as well. They have not had a training camp. I mean, Ryan Jensen going down was not good. By the way, he did say that we're still waiting for the swelling to go down for Ryan Jensen, and I think this is going to become a running joke. I mean, I think this might last for a long time. That's maybe another one of those drops that we need to get from Todd Bowles. We're still waiting for the swelling to go down. It's been 5 weeks, for God's sakes. Does anybody have an ice pack over there? Can we get a cryo tub for Jensen? Maybe a little bit. Get the swelling down. I don't know what game they're playing over there, but it ain't the swelling. It's not. If it's still swollen, amputate. as fast as possible because something is desperately wrong. So when we hear that, we gotta understand that, and he did go on injured reserve. So, but the Bucs will still be able to bring him back later in the season, and maybe it's a Vita Vea situation, which played out very much in their hands to win the Super Bowl. Bringing him back was a huge key. So, they've had experience with this level. So obviously they know way more than we do about what the injury is and what the prognosis is. And hey, maybe in this whole, stem cell thing that doctors are talking about, and doctors are using these stem cells to heal injuries in a much faster way than they ever have before, not just in terms of football injuries or sports injuries, but in the military and just, recreational warriors. So who knows? It's a whole new world when it comes to that. So if they can get Ryan Jensen back late in the season, that kind of answers the questions why they haven't made any moves in the interior. So they must have some confidence that he can come back quicker than many of us thought we could. All right, we'll take a quick break and get back on the other side. Will Turner is going to join us from USF, 247 USF, to talk some Bulls. So we'll chat with him about this huge game with BYU and talk a little bit about last night's games as well. They were unbelievable. So we'll get into some more college football when we come back here on the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. They've got some specials running now on their diet and nutritional program, so good time to check in with them at BAMMC.com. Back in 3.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Golden Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Golden Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Golden Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost relative or love? Or a missing person and the police are not helping? An insurance adjuster who needs proof of injury. Hi, I'm Rachel D'Antonio from Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, Emerging Investigation. We have a proven track record of results. Local attorneys and insurance companies hire us to discover insurance fraud and crucial information in criminal cases. We can help in custody matters, and we devote a tremendous state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge industry surveillance techniques to get you trusted results. Larger corporate agencies can be more expensive and do not offer the personal level of customer service and interaction that we pride ourselves on. We are a family-owned business. Our professional experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach D'Antonio, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo was on the show the other day and gave us some great information on nutrition, sleep, which Nick is not getting enough of these days, nor am I. It's football season. And also dieting as well. So if you want to lose some weight, lean up, or you're vastly overweight and really need to get control of it, this is a great way to do it, because at BAMMC.com at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, they do things in a very, very personal way. Some people can't go out and exercise right away for an hour and a half, right? You can't eat, radically change your caloric intake. They do it in a gradual way that's going to keep the weight off and change your lifestyle so you can become a more healthy person. These quick fixes don't work, folks. So don't jump on that. It's not going to work. Do it in a gradual way, in a doctor-assisted way, and that's what they do at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. So go to BAMMC.com and get an appointment. Right now they're running specials. I think it's $100 off their program, so it's a great time to do it. BAMMC.com. All right, let's bring in our good friend Will Turner from Bulls 247, who was at the press conference yesterday with Michael Kelly, I believe, and asking him about the new facilities. Hello to you, Will Turner. How are you, my friend? You're looking
Hey,
good.
guys. I appreciate it. It's good to finally be on camera with you all. It's a long time coming, right?
Yeah, modern technology. We got our new set here. We got new headsets. I mean, we're getting big time here. So, speaking of big time, boy, that facilities press conference yesterday. We've been getting, the new stadium. We kind of knew everything was coming, but it all came together yesterday. And I read the whole thing last night, and wow, and saw all the artist renderings. This is this is dramatic, the difference. And I thought your question, which you put up on Twitter, was really, really good. Talk about what you asked Michael Kelly and his response.
Yeah, so I think, in all honesty, USF missing out on Big 12 expansion was a blessing in disguise for the program, in all honesty, just because of the fact that this team, really had to get their house in order. I think that, especially with the on-field product that a lot of folks have seen, it's not been great the last handful of years. It's just kind of, putting it plainly. But, USF was frankly behind on the facilities aspect of it all. They needed an on-campus stadium. They needed an indoor practice facility. They needed to show that they were going to be, be able to go into this next stage of college football expansion on the same playing field as a lot of other, programs around the country. So I asked, if it was a blessing in disguise in their eyes. And Michael Kelly essentially said that, they want to stay on the right side of Division I, because he does see that there's going to be some sort of split down the line, depending upon, when the NCAA might decide to realign Division I, when the college football playoff might expand. He gave an answer that was very forward thinking towards a CFP expansion. Obviously, his background is he spent some time as a COO of the CFP.
Yeah, he's plugged.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, he's thinking long term of, we want to try and make a CFP, whether that's in the American Athletic Conference, whether that's in the Big 12, whether that's in other conference, maybe like the ACC. Want to make the football playoff at some point. And I think that was that's their forward thinking, and I think that's where this vision of what they want their facilities can position towards.
Yeah, and talk about the on-campus stadium in terms of how that fits in. And I don't know all the details, but I've just kind of talked tangentially to Michael about this, and it has to do with owning all the revenue within the stadium. And Raymond James Stadium is a beautiful place, and it's obviously a tremendous facility, but they don't control anything there. They don't control concessions. They don't control parking. They don't control signage. They get bits and pieces of it, but they don't control everything. And conferences want you to have control of that stuff so they can come in and do things and hold bowl games there. They may want to do championship games in your stadium because it's such a, weather-wise, it's the great place to do it. So talk a little bit about how having that on-campus stadium is just not about bringing people in for the games, but it's about moving the entire program forward into those things that you just talked about.
Yeah, it's huge because then you're not, you're not sharing your revenue with anybody. You've got 100% of the revenue from parking, from ticket sales, from
Signing.
concessions. And I know a lot of people in the ticket office, and there's some great people. They do a lot of great work at USF with the promotions they run and all that good stuff. And I know from a fact that those folks in the ticket office wish that they could get every single dollar possible, to support their hard work. And they do such a great job up in the ticket office. Like I said, I know a ton of people over there. And so it's huge from that perspective because now you're not shorting yourself on cash. You're making sure that your profit margin is as big as you can make it. When a UCF type comes into town, or a Florida State type comes into town, and ends up, as we saw last year at Raymond James Stadium, pretty much selling out the place, with Florida in particular. You want to make sure that you could take advantage of maybe an opposing team's fan base as well to be able to get the kind of revenue that they want to spend at your stadium. And that's, why you would bring maybe an Alabama, why you'd bring a Boise State, a BYU, some of these high profile teams that you'd want to bring to your stadium, because you're also going to help bring their fans. Obviously, USF wants to pack out their stadium with as many fans in green as gold as possible. But there's multiple layers to it, of course. And it's huge to be able to get that full. You're playing with a full deck of cards at that point, for lack of a better phrase. Because you're just going to be able to have 100% of the revenue. It's so important. It's a great point that you bring up. Raymond James is a great place. I mean, it is. It's awesome. We love it. It's a Super Bowl stadium, but you're not getting everything that you could if you had something on campus.
Yeah. So that's a vision that Michael Kelly has put in there, and I think it's a goal for this football program as well. And it's got to start on the field. You can build all the facilities you want, but you got to win football games, and that's why I think this game is so big, because you've got, for the first time, a bona fide quarterback coming in here who has done it at a high level, and Gary Bohannon. We had him on the show yesterday. The guy just has incredible charisma. You could hear it through the phone. I've not met him in person yet, but I've heard so many people that are playing with him and coaching him, and they rave about the guy. What are your thoughts on where he can take this team and how big this game is against the top 25 team at BYU?
Yeah, so Gary Bohannon is, charisma is a great, word with him. I mean, a guy that has won 10 games in the Big 12, a guy that has thrown for 2,000 yards in the Big 12 and has beaten a Texas, Oklahoma, Iowa State, West Virginia, just, name them off pretty much. Won a Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss. I mean, he's done it all. Granted, it was just one season that he started at Baylor, but it was a very productive season that he had and one that put him on the national radar. So, for USF to get a proven leader like that is huge. I mean, he has only been in the program since the summer, since around Memorial Day weekend, maybe a little bit before that. But he's already been very forward thinking in his game planning and playbook study, and just getting to know his teammates and getting the timing with his receivers, everything that you want a quarterback to be able to do. Gary Bohannon has taken the quarterback one role by storm since he got it in fall camp, and has done a pretty solid job of getting himself ingrained with the program. So that's big in itself. And now you've got a guy too, as we transition towards BYU, a guy who's beaten BYU, a guy that led Baylor to a win over the Cougars in Waco last year. One that knows what the Cougars are going to throw at him. Granted, no disrespect to Timmy McClain. Of course, he knew what BYU would throw at him as well. But Bohannon won and picked apart their defense while doing it. Did throw one interception against the Cougars. I believe it was in the end zone. So, shorter field, maybe, benefit of the doubt there. But, he played very well against BYU. Threw for over 200 yards in that game. Baylor rushed the ball very well, but when they needed to throw the football, Gary did a solid job. So I think that's going to help in particular, is you got a guy with experience that knows what the Cougars are going to throw at him. One thing that I've said a number of times now is Gary Bohannon's been very good against the blitz in his career. Completed almost 63% of his passes against the blitz last year. I believe almost 8 yards to completion when the opposing defense blitzes. So, a guy that can stay calm, cool, and composed in the pocket will deliver a strike, and that's what USF needs to do against a BYU defense that they showed in the second half of that game can move the ball against that defense.
Will Turner joining us here from Bulls 247. Talk a little bit about the weapons that he's going to be working with. And, hopefully there's some continuity there. Obviously, this is their first game together, but they've been working their ass off, I know, in fall camp. But talk about the receivers and the running backs. This is as good a group as I've seen in a while with the transfers and everybody who's come in.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think this is one of the most well-stocked skill position units between running backs, wide receivers, tight ends that USF has had since probably 2017 when Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Quentin Flowers were running the show. The wide receiver room is stocked. Xavier Weaver had a great season last year, over 700 yards receiving. Jimmy Horn proved to be an electric slot receiver with over 400 yards offense in his own right as a receiver. He's going to be dangerous. Joe, the Clemson transfer that comes in, has been talked about very, very highly. 6'3", 220, big body, very agile receiver for how big he is. He should be very, very good in that offense. And then on the other side, on the Z receiver, you've got Chafre Brown, a North Carolina transfer who's been, called a world-class sprinter, has, top-end speed that, unlike any other, has been very, very good in camp. Has been taking a lot of first-team reps with the offense. And then beyond that, you've got guys that are, still have played ball at a very good level. Latrell Williams is back for a 7th college football season after injuring his ACL. So he has his doctorate in football and probably a degree of his choice. He'll come back this year, and he should be in that rotation at the Z receiver. He'll be a guy that I want to see a lot out of this year. I think he could be very productive in splitting time with a Chafre Brown type. And then at the slot, Omarion Dallison proved to be good at the Z receiver when Latrell went down last year. He's been in the slot taking snaps with Jimmy Horn. He should be a guy that should see some time on Saturday as well. I've gotten a chance to see him up close in some private workouts, and he's one of the smoothest athletes, one of the smoothest skill position guys that I've ever gotten a chance to be around. Just the agility through the roof. I mean, soft hands, can do just about anything on the football field from the slot receiver spot. So, and that's just the wide receivers. I mean, the running back room, you got a guy who ran for 15 touchdowns, Jaron Mangum.
Yeah.
You've got Mikey Dukes, a Clemson transfer, who can catch the ball out of the backfield, who can, run pretty well in his own right. We've got a consensus All-American kick returner and Brian Battie, who should get some time running the ball. And then a little throwback for some Buccaneers nostalgia in Jason Albritton, who switched from number 30 to number 40. Big 5'10", 220. Mike Allstott, they call him Mini Allstott already.
Nice.
He might get some time in the rotation. He's a Newsom High School legend, I'd probably say. He's probably considered a legend over there, those parts in Lithia. He might get some time in the rotation as well. And so they're stocked, man, at the running back and wide receiver room.
Yeah,
it was very, very, very good to see the talent they have returning.
All right, well, last question for you. Defense and defensive line. Last year, when I watched USF, the defensive line was just a glaring weakness. So small. You just can't play defense at a D1 level when you're that small. And I know they've upgraded tremendously. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the defensive line in particular, there's still some concern about the D tackle position. 2 transfers that USF thought they would have at their arsenal in their rotation are not going to be with the team this year. One's with Florida. One has gone to Florida A&M. Another is still on the roster, but according to Jeff Scott, has been held out due to some academic issues. Still waiting for some clarification on that, if he'll be back for the spring. But aside from that, they're going to lean heavily on a couple of those transfers. Missouri defensive end Jatorian Hansford transferred in the early signing period, and he'll be a guy that they will rely on. Defensive tackle Rashad Cheney, he's a Minnesota transfer that should be relied on heavily. He's been talked about as having a pretty darn good spring in his own right. Nick Baggs is a defensive tackle from Temple, so American Athletic Conference guy that hopped in the portal right around USF playing playing Temple last year within around October. So USF jumped on him pretty quick, got him committed pretty early. So he's going to be one that they'll rely on. And then you've got some guys, you've got some freshmen, I think, that USF should have some good success with that could get in the rotation in Michael Williams. He's a Michigan product that Bob Shoop recruited pretty quick out of the gate. He had some significant interest from Michigan and Michigan State before a knee injury derailed his junior season, and his stock kind of fell a little bit. But he was still a near 4-star recruit by the time USF had got him signed. Eddie Kelly, a defensive end out of West Orange High School in Orlando, heavily recruited by Florida State, was a very late bloomer. But he comes in and he's
a big boy.
He clocked in at 271 pounds.
Yeah.
On weigh-in day. So he should be a guy that's been talked about in fall camp. The transition for USF was they wanted to be able to get some guys that they didn't have to get a full season of strength and conditioning with. And now you see with Eddie Kelly, a guy that weighs in at 270 as a true freshman. Michael Williams weighs in at 240. You've got to, and now you don't have to spend all of summer and all of spring trying to get those guys just at the weight that you need to. Now you could start really focusing on conditioning them and getting them ready for college ball. So a lot of unproven folks in the defensive line room. I think they'll pair nicely with a Rashawn Yates, who's played some DN, D tackle. He's probably the most proven the guys up front. Tramel Logan has bulked up 35 pounds and is up to 250. He's looking like a breakout candidate.
Well, that's what
Jason
they need.
Vaughn is another one. Yeah, Jason Vaughn is another one. Good guys, proven, but that's what you want. That's
absolutely.
I gotta play with a chip on their shoulder.
Got to have that size up front. Well, great stuff as always, man. You're the best in the business when it comes to USF. We thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll chat with you down the road, and enjoy the game tomorrow. And please promote your content where they can find you on Twitter and all your content.
Of course, yeah, Bulls12.com, the place for all this surrounding USF. We're breaking this one down. We talked heavily on our message board about the facilities upgrades yesterday and what that means. We've talked about conference expansion on our boards. Of course, we'll have plenty of BYU game breakdown coverage. We've already got popped up on the site breaking it down with a BYU insider. So tons of BYU game coverage throughout the rest of Friday and leading right up until kickoff on Saturday afternoon from Raymond James.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, buddy. Appreciate your time. All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you as always.
Looking good, too. Love that hat. All right, we will take a break, and when we come back, then Gilbo is going to join us from Outkick.com. Been covering LSU for decades, so we'll get a perspective on LSU as the Florida State Seminoles ride into Bourbon Street and get ready to tangle with the SEC, an ACC-SEC big matchup. We will talk with Glenn when we come back. Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 818-
thinking you might need a little testosterone replacement therapy, BAMMC is the way to go. Chris Lugo and his medical team will get you right with a personalized approach, medically directed. Make sure your T levels and your blood, all your blood work is where it should be. And they will monitor it the entire way. That's the way you got to do it. BAMMC.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Go to their website and tell them you heard it on the JP Show. All right, let's bring in Glenn Guilbeau from Outkick.com. Been covering the LSU Tigers for quite some time. Glenn, how are you?
Hello, how are you guys?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Full disclosure, I've been covering FSU since back in the 80s when I was a
Wow.
reporter there back in the day. Went through the Bobby Bowden era. I took some nice trips to Baton Rouge many years and enjoyed that. And heading back to Bourbon Street this weekend is going to be fun. Obviously, much different than Baton Rouge. Thank God. From an FSU standpoint, it'll be a little bit more balanced. But thanks for coming on the show, and just give me a feel for what you're expecting here in week one of the Brian Kelly era. FSU has obviously played a game, but what are you expecting from LSU?
Well, let me tell you real quick. I covered every Florida State LSU game from the early 80s on. I never forget, I was actually working at LSU in the SID department in 1982 when Florida State came in to play LSU, and LSU beat them to go to the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I remember that.
And my assignment was the visiting locker room. So I was in there while Bobby Bowden spoke to the team right after they got beat. It was amazing because he kept saying, "Look, you guys treat this team with respect. They beat us. You guys give them credit, and we're going to a nice Gator Bowl, you know." And it was just all class. You know, it was all class, and I just never forget that. And that was a huge night for LSU. They didn't beat Florida State much. I think they trail in the series 7-3 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was a huge night. But people were throwing oranges.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. And Bobby also said that Bobby could have been the LSU coach to succeed Charles McClendon going into the 1980 season, but he turned the job down. I think he also turned down Alabama a few years later. Yeah, but he could have. Paul Dietzel was the athletic director. He interviewed Bobby, and Bobby could have had the LSU job back then.
Interesting. Yeah, Bobby. Bobby was loyal to FSU, and Alabama was his dream job. And in 1986, I was actually my first year covering the team out of college, out of FSU, and that was such a huge story at that particular. Because everybody thought he was gone. To be honest with you, everybody thought he was gone. And Bobby just, on the ride home from Birmingham said, "No, you know what? I think Florida State's where I need to be." I was a pretty good choice. Were you there at the 93 game in Baton Rouge? FSU on its way to its first national championship, and it rained a monsoon that night, and FSU escaped with their life. Was that the 93 season? Or was that maybe?
I think, let's see.
It might have been 92.
There was a game where LSU scored on the first play of the game, an 80-yard touchdown to Todd Kinchin. I covered that game, but I think that was 91 or 92.
Yeah. It's been a great series, back in the day, and now they renew this rivalry. And Brian Kelly obviously knows Florida State well from his Notre Dame days, but this is a whole different deal for LSU. How is Brian Kelly assimilating? How is the team buying into this new culture? These are always tough things to go through. What's your sense?
Yeah, that was 91, just to remind you. Okay. Number 1, Florida State, 27, LSU, 16, October 26, 1991. I was at that game. No, I think LSU and Florida State are in very similar situations this year. The roster is just not there for either team. Florida State's still in a rebuild.
Yep.
LSU is just going to be starting a rebuild. They're really only strong at wide receiver and defensive line. Everything else is really question marks, and they're 11 and 12 the last 2 seasons. So this is going to be a rebuild for Brian Kelly.
And do you think that this are the guys buying in? We've been through a couple transitions at FSU. And it took a while for Mike Norvell to do that now in his 3rd year. How is it going with Brian Kelly, do you think?
I think for the most part they're buying in, but there were some veterans, Keyshawn Boutte, the great receiver, who didn't buy in right off. Things were definitely different under Coach Ed Orgeron. It was more casual, not as much discipline. And Brian Kelly is just very detail oriented, process oriented. Little things mean a lot. That got away from Coach Orgeron and Coach Miles before him. Coach Kelly is the most like Saban of anybody here since Saban. So that's going to take some getting used to for some of the players on this team who, this was a talented team last year that just underachieved. They had 10 guys drafted off of a 6 and 7 team. And they had to use the transfer portal a lot, but I think eventually LSU will be good, but they're probably going to be about an 8-win team this season, I would think.
Glenn Guilbeau joining us here from Outkick.com, covering the LSU Tigers. Let's talk a little X's and O's here. We've done a lot of that on this program from an FSU perspective, and it seems like LSU feels like their defensive line is their biggest strength. Tell me a little bit about that matchup, the front seven against Florida State's improved offensive line, but historically going back the last few years, it's been a dumpster fire there.
Yeah, well, defensive end BJ Ojulari is probably going to be a high NFL draft pick, and they've got other experienced guys there, and Matt House is the new defensive coordinator, and LSU hasn't had a good defensive coordinator since Dave Aranda left after the 2019 season. Bo Pelini was a disaster, and then Dante Jones last year was just not ready for that job. So I think you're going to see LSU just look more organized on the defense and do some different things, which was not the case last year. They were a really extremely easy scout last year. So I think you'll see them playing better this year. But there's still, there's some question marks in the secondary and at linebacker.
And on the offensive side, I know Brian's not going to reveal who the starting quarterback is. Is it going to be just one guy, you think, or will both guys play, Nussmeier and was it Daniels? How's that going to work out?
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels, the former starter at Arizona State, will start. He's got very good running ability, and he's kind of an okay passer. And they need a quarterback who can run because the offensive line is probably going to be average at best. So I think if Jaden gets off to a good start, I think he may play the whole game. Garrett Nussmeier has probably more upside and a better arm, but he's been erratic when he has played. There's a chance he could get in there, but I don't know. I think the starter will be Jaden, and I think this will be a close game. I think LSU probably will win by maybe 10 points, but I think it'll be a close game for a while.
How do you think LSU wins this game from an X's and O's standpoint? What is their strength? How do they win this game? FSU played obviously Duquesne, a grossly inferior opponent. Not much you can take from that besides the fact that they got an organized scrimmage in. So from what you've seen from FSU this year and the transfers that they have, what's LSU's path to winning this game?
Well, LSU's strong at wide receiver. I think you'll see some short passes. I think Jaden will run quite a bit. I think they'll try to establish the run. I think they'll kind of be conservative and close to the vest with Brian Kelly. He's not really a progressive offensive coach. He's kind of had game manager quarterbacks for the most part. And I think you're going to see LSU's defense probably win the game, and the offense will do just enough.
So you got a low scoring game? You got a 21-17, 21-10?
Yeah, I'm thinking something like that. 20-13, something like that. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about I'll be headed there as a fan me and my son, we go to some FSU games, or used to pre-COVID. And we're bringing that tradition back. So I'll be sitting in the FSU section as a fan. And I think we sold like 30,000 tickets, but still we might be overrun by LSU fans. What do you think the atmosphere is going to be like in the Dome on Sunday night?
Well, the Dome is a treasured place for LSU.
Yeah.
They won 3 national championships in that building in 2003 under Saban, 2007 under Miles, and 2019 under Coach O, and they play there every now and then. They played Tulane in the Superdome and other non-conference games, BYU. And LSU fans love to go to New Orleans and take over the city. I'm sure they'll be getting there tonight if they're not already there. Because it's only an hour from Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
But it'll be it'll be a Sunday night game, but it'll feel like Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. Well, Glenn, appreciate your time. Really appreciate it. Hopefully run into you somewhere there. Are you heading over to New Orleans? I'm sure you are for that.
Yeah, I'll be at the game. Sure will.
Well, appreciate your time. Really appreciate it. And we can find you on outkick.com. Glenn Gilbo. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Yeah. I love running down memory lane with guys like that. We could, but I know it's not as interesting to you guys. So
I found the Bobby quote a little
that was
interesting
cool.
because it
that
sounded like
cool.
you didn't even really know about that.
I did not know about that. I did not know. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Bobby, he's, those pregame speeches. I tell you a real quick one. A good friend of mine, Ron Gachet, he wanted to go. He's a big Gator fan, and the Gators played at LSU many years ago, and he wanted to go to the game. And I said, I got a couple of friends of mine that are GAs at LSU, and I think maybe Archer was the coach at the time, Mike Archer. And I said, contact this guy, and they'll see if they can get you in. So my buddy said, hey, meet me at this particular place. We'll just roll you in with our recruits. And he's like, okay. So they show up, and one of the guys was about 6'3", athletic kid, and Ron's 5'10", kind of pudgy Jewish kid. So he's like, all right, you'll be a receiver, and you're a kicker. So he squeezed them in with their recruits. Not only did he get to go to the game, but he was in the LSU locker room before the FSU game, and also and got down on the sidelines too. Was like walking next to Coach Bowden and the whole nine. I was like, damn, you got the great treatment. He goes, yeah, I had to tell like 3 different people. Yeah, I'm a kicker from Fort Lauderdale. So, I mean, this was back in the day when you could get away with stuff like that. So he had a good time there. But that was I think that was maybe the 82 game. I'm not sure, but there's been so many great games and road trips like that, and then they're memories that you bring with you the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I'm just glad he talked a little about the history there that FSU and LSU are kind of something they haven't played in a long time.
Yeah.
And this week 1, it's like, look at me, like all these odd matchups of out of conference that you're getting. I mean, you got this one, the Cincy Arkansas is very intriguing. Oregon, Ohio State's intriguing. Oregon and Georgia, right? Ohio State, Notre Dame is intriguing.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, again, it always goes back to realignment, right? That you don't want to see these type of matchups go away, because I think this is one of the most exciting week 1s we've had in a long time.
And I think that, college football expansion, do we need to take one more break? Do we have to hit the let's hit one more. Let's hit one more break. I want to come back because college football expansion is something I wanted to talk about today anyway, and how it feeds in. And I think we're going to get more of these games because of the new college football expansion and playoffs. So I think that's a big deal. So let's take a quick 3-minute break. We'll come back. We'll finish up with the latest headlines here, any breaking news we got, and we'll hit that college football playoff. Stay with us. Quick.
Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Golden Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost relative or love? Or a missing person and the police are not helping? An insurance adjuster who needs proof of injury. Hi, I'm Rachel D'Antonio from Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, Emerging Investigation. We have a proven track record of results. Local attorneys and insurance companies hire us to discover insurance fraud and crucial information in criminal cases. We can help in custody matters, and we devote a tremendous state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge industry surveillance techniques to get you trusted results. Larger corporate agencies can be more expensive and do not offer the personal level of customer service and interaction that we pride ourselves on. We are a family-owned business. Our professional experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach D'Antonio, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center and American Mortgage Insurance. Scott Fitzgerald, they've got a new home loan program. It's very, very interesting. It depends on where you live or where you want to refi, where you want to buy. You got to just email him, scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com. No points on the mortgage. You can get lower rates than the usual going rates. You have to have a 640 score. It has to be your primary dwelling. There's a few restrictions on it, but it could save you tons and tons of money with this new government program. So check it out. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com. So if you're going through that right now, you got to find out if you're part of that program. And also, if you're already working with another bank, he might be able to beat those rates, probably can. So just email him, scott@amstampa.com. College football playoff expansion. We talked a little bit about that earlier in the show, but this seems to be really moving very fast. And my guess is that this is going to be unanimously approved. It has to be unanimously approved by next season. And I think you're going to see realignment. I think this is why USF unveiled all their expansion stuff. So Michael Kelly can go to these other conferences and say, hey, we're going to have our on-campus stadium. We have all these great facilities that you could use for your championships in the winter, and bring all your teams down here. You can, if you're looking at the Big 10 or Big 12 or whatever, even the ACC, it's going to make it much more attractive. And it puts USF in the big time that they can be a Power 5, what might turn out to be a Power 6 conference. And what this does, if they go to this alignment, I think they will, and put all these teams in these super conferences, you'll probably have, 6 conferences of 16 teams each. And then you'll maybe have a little lower level there. Then there'll be relegation or what have you. Teams can move up and down. But what it does is it puts everybody in a playoff system where you have 8-team divisions. You win your division, you get into conference championship game. You win the conference championship game, you're in the playoff. And I'm guessing it's going to be 12 or 16 team playoff because the money is there. And these presidents believe that there's going to be $450 million in lost revenue if they wait till this current college football playoff contract expires. And these teams and conferences and presidents are looking for as much money as they can now because they're losing money in the NIL because that money is going to the players instead of the universities. So now they're looking to make that money up, and this is the only way they can do it. So, suddenly all of their objections for whatever they were go out the window when the balance sheet doesn't quite work. So I think you're going to see this rapidly happen. And what that does is it doesn't matter what your record is, right? So it's going to be more like basketball, where teams and coaches, I think, are going to want to get their teams tested early on to see where their weaknesses are, and they can develop as a team. Before it's you can't afford a loss or you're not going to make the postseason or playoff. Now you can, if you win your division and win your conference games at 6-2 or 8-3 or whatever it's going to be, those preseason losses aren't going to matter as much. So you're going to see these teams go for, big money games like we saw last night at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh and in West Virginia. They packed the place. I mean, that's compared to playing like some patsy Shippensburg State, your revenue is going to be millions and millions more. So I think the college football playoff expansion is going to give teams and coaches and athletic directors the balls to go out and play tough games. And we're going to get more games like we got last night. Penn State, Purdue was amazing. Pittsburgh, West Virginia was amazing. And we'll see them, LSU, FSU this weekend. Florida, Utah, a huge start. I mean, Florida's never played a highly ranked opponent like this in their opening game at home. So good for college football. I love it. Moving forward. I don't know if any other things that we need to cover here. The Dodgers last night, a little other baseball talk. The Mets beat them, 2 out of 3 now. Edwin Diaz came on last night. We didn't even talk about Timmy the trumpet guy that did the narco theme live for Edwin Diaz the other night. And all the Met fans didn't even get into it. They were just taking the video on their phones.
Of course.
I was like, this is so weird, man. I'd be jumping up and down and going crazy, and everybody's just like sitting there with their phones like, oh, let me get pictures of this instead
It's
of
the equivalent of going to a concert, right? And then you watch the entire concert on this tiny little screen.
Yeah, what are you doing? Like, that was such a great moment. I thought the place would be going nuts. And
They all just, to me, they were going nuts at first, but now it's become like a whole thing. Oh, I got to put it on my social media. So everybody just gets the phone out and films it, even though it was like dead quiet in there.
That was like one of the best things I've seen in baseball in a while, just in terms of fans and stuff. That was cool. That was
yeah. And then yesterday, you talked about Edwin Diaz. He threw one. You see, he threw like
103 to gas it and win it.
And it was because he gave up a run, and he was like so pissed off. He decided he waved off like all like the pitches the catcher wanted to throw, and he threw 4 fastballs right by
103. 103. Yeah, that was a cool moment. Gary Koppel says, any stadium update? I guess you're talking about the Rays Stadium, right? Daryl Shaw has just bought another parcel of land. It's over by where those I guess they're grain silos or some silos. If you go down the downtown, right there at the end of the basin where, you see those silos, he just bought up that whole area there. And, the Rays have always coveted some type of waterfront property. Now, we've been hearing all these rumors about Stu trying to do a deal in Tampa on his own and not working with the TSA, because that's the reporting that we have done. Stu has kind of pissed everybody off at the TSA because he wants to know, how much money can you give me? Give me just a check. We don't want you involved, but just how much money can you give us? And the TSA is like, yeah, it's not how it works. If you want our money, we got to be involved in the whole deal. So, and that's the way it should work. So we don't have a lot of really factual stuff to tell you right here as far as the stadium goes, but that's just the background. And I don't think Daryl Shaw would be buying up more property if he wasn't more convinced that the Rays are coming to downtown Tampa, because he's already got a crap ton of property, and he's kind of banking on the fact that the Rays are going to build a stadium there. So I think it's a positive development, but again, we don't know. Everything's being put under wraps, but I think it's more signs that things are moving in the right direction towards Tampa, and he's still just, playing around with St. Petersburg. MLB is never going to let them build there. That's what we've heard. It's my opinion. I still don't think it's ever going to happen there. All right. Our thanks to all our guests today. Pat Burnham at Talked FSU, Will Turner, USF, Glenn Gilbo, LSU stuff. That was great stuff. And Gary Bohannon as well, USF quarterback. Hey, good luck to the Bulls this weekend. Hey, good luck to you Gators going up against Utah. I think that's going to be a rough one for you. Good luck to the Seminoles. And the Rays this weekend against the Yankees is going to be fantastic. Enjoy the weekend, folks. Football is here. It's going to be awesome. We'll be off on Monday, but we'll be back on Tuesday live from New Orleans. I'm doing a show from New Orleans on Tuesday, so we'll talk to you then.